If you have not heard, Hunter Biden has now been indicted on gun charges. Now, before we get into the video clip, one thing I do want to remind you is this is not the best that they can do. I really believe that this is just a distraction away from Hunter Biden's laptop and his business dealings in Ukraine. This was something I predicted. I didn't know for sure it would be the gun charge, but that they would try to get him on something else to draw your attention away from the Ukraine business dealings in Burisma. So here we are. It is now happening. President Biden's son, Hunter Biden, has been indicted by special counsel David Weiss in connection with a gun he purchased in 2018. The first time in U.S. history, the Justice Department has charged the child of a sitting president. Let's dive in.
Hunter Biden has now been indicted on gun charges. This, of course, following the breakdown in what had been a deal between prosecutors and Hunter Biden and his lawyers, a plea deal. He will now be charged on the gun charge. Our Kara Scannell has been following this. Kara, what do we know? What's in the indictment specifically?
Well, Jim, this indictment just hit the docket. It's 4 pages long, and it's 3 criminal counts. So what prosecutors are alleging here is that Hunter Biden had filled out the form when he bought the firearm falsely. That is because the form asked the question of, are you a user of drugs at the time that you're purchasing this firearm? Hunter Biden checked the box that said no, but he has since become very public about his abuse of cocaine. So he's charged with 2 counts of making false statements on these forms and 1 count of possessing the gun while he was addicted and a user of a controlled substance, again, crack cocaine. So
again, this is a distraction, guys. Okay, let's get him on the gun charge. He lied on his gun form. Okay. This is what they're trying to get him on. There's more serious things that they've done. When we talk about the business dealings in Ukraine and we talk about the funding that's come from the U.S. government, the billions of dollars that have been sent to Ukraine, we talk about the escalation between Ukraine and Russia from NATO. Come on, guys. Come on. We got to really go all the way there. This is just to shut people up. Let's get him with the gun charge. Show people that he could possibly get 20 years. Let's get him with that so people can say, okay, Hunter Biden has been held accountable, and they'll stop talking about the laptop. They'll stop talking about the business dealings in Ukraine, which means they'll stop talking about the possibility of Joe Biden being knowledgeable about those business dealings, even when he said he was not. That's what this is about.
3-count indictment of felony charges. These are serious charges. Now, Jim, as you mentioned, he did have a deal that would have allowed him to avoid prosecution on a gun possession charge. That collapsed under scrutiny by a federal judge. Now, Hunter Biden's lawyers have argued that this agreement they struck was binding and that the prosecutors could not bring other charges. So clearly something that they're appearing like they're going to fight in this case. I've reached out to Hunter Biden's criminal attorney. I've not heard back since this indictment has hit the docket, but certainly very serious charges. This possession charge carries a statutory maximum of 10 years in prison, though that is rarely what a defendant is sentenced to, because often these charges do accompany another crime, and that is not what we're seeing in this case. But prosecutors did say that they were going to bring this charge by the end of the month. Now, this time is now. We do not know yet when Hunter Biden will have to appear in court for an arraignment on these charges. That's just not available yet in the docket. But, you know, it is also important to note that prosecutors are investigating him for tax charges. He did have a plea to plead guilty to 2 misdemeanor tax charges. That also fell apart. Those charges were dismissed. And that is something that the special counsel, David Weiss, is still continuing to investigate. So this is not the end of the road for Hunter Biden as far as potential criminal charges facing, but he is facing 3 criminal counts today, Jim. Pretty serious charges.
Let me say something about the tax charge. It's easy to go after people with the taxes. When they're trying to get someone on, we need to get them on something. There's too much attention going into this whole issue with Ukraine. You know, then there was the interview that his former business partner had with Tucker Carlson, that Joe Biden was definitely present during some of those business meetings. Like, all of this stuff is escalated, right? So taxes is one of the easiest things you can come after wealthy people for, because a lot of them usually have accountants, their own accountants. They don't do their own taxes. And so they're just like, whatever, hide some money here, hide some money there. Some of them have offshore accounts. They have certain ways they try to get around the system. So one of the easiest things to go after is let's go after them for taxes to make it seem like it really means something. But this is nothing. This is nothing compared to the laptop. And we cannot move away from that. We cannot forget about the laptop. Okay? Just like they didn't want you to forget about Hillary's emails, we can't forget about this laptop.
That's right. And these related to the gun charge, they do not affect the continuing investigation, as you note, into the tax-related charges. Karis Cannell, thanks so much. We should note that this is the first time in U.S. history that the Justice Department has filed charges against the son or daughter of a sitting president. Our
first time for everything.
Evan Perez here now. This is significant. Before we even go to trial, before we even get to a point where, if he's convicted, there would be sentencing involved. But tell us how we arrived here, because until a few weeks ago, the thinking was they had reached a deal.
Right, they had reached a deal, Jim, and it was at least the judge's discomfort with what she thought was the odd nature of that agreement, which basically called for her to play no role. She just really had to rubber stamp it, is what she viewed it. She was being asked to rubber stamp an agreement between prosecutors, between David Weiss, the Trump appointee U.S. attorney who is still in office and who is overseeing this investigation and is now a special counsel. The deal was that if Hunter Biden abided by a certain amount of terms that were going to be laid out, that he would have this charge essentially go away eventually. And that's where the judge drew the line and started asking questions, and where, frankly, this all began unraveling. But really, the other thing that I think is worth noting here is that Hunter Biden himself caused a lot of the problem for, obviously, the fact that he was addicted to drugs and he bought this firearm. He possessed it for about 11 days, I believe, according to the information, according to the prosecution. But what made this certainly more easy for prosecutors to bring was that Hunter Biden wrote a book. He discussed his own struggles with drug issues, and
this guy, I'm sorry, forget the book, okay? Forget the book making it easy. What actually made it easier to bring was because he recorded himself doing drugs. He recorded, there's videos, and it's on that laptop. And those videos have been leaked onto social media. Let's keep it real. What's this guy's name? Evan? Let's keep it real, Evan. Yeah, there's a book, but let's be honest. There's video evidence. Video evidence of him doing drugs. Just say it.
He talked about it at about the time when he possessed this firearm. And that really what it did is it drew the attention of investigators at the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, who already were kind of looking into some of these issues and really cemented the idea that he should not have been able to buy this firearm, or at least when he bought it, Jim, that he did not truthfully fill out that form, which everybody fills out when they buy firearms. Now, look.
Guys, people do this shit all the time. I just want you to understand how they're trying to make this a bigger deal than it actually is. Yes, you should tell the truth on the form. But the thing is, people do this all the fucking time, okay? People buy weapons at yard sales. People, look, I lived in the South. I'll tell you, I lived in the South, so I've seen some things. I've seen some things. People lie on those forms. People have illegal weapons. People will buy them from the gun shows where they don't check all of, the fact they don't check all of your information to see that you should be able to purchase that weapon. People have to understand, like, this stuff happens all the time. This is not, and they're just like, he lied on a form. People do this all the time. It's just, oh my God.
You know, you and I've talked about this before, right? This is one of those things that cases like this don't often get brought, and I think Hunter Biden's attorneys are going to make a big case of this because usually there's other things that are attached to this. There's usually other criminal conduct that is attached to it related to the gun, and so it's unusual for this to be brought as a single charge without anything else, perhaps violence or anything else. So we'll see. This will be litigated, obviously, by Hunter Biden's attorneys. They're going to point out that he's being singled out. They're going to claim that it's for political reasons because of all the criticism from Republicans on Capitol Hill.
So they're going to claim it's for political reasons. Yeah, there's political reasons, but also, I mean, the laptop, okay? The laptop. Now, Politico talked about this as well. Hunter Biden indicted on gun charges. A Delaware grand jury charged the president's son with illegally owning a gun as a drug user. You know, they trying to make it seem like, think about how they're painting Hunter Biden. They're trying to make him sound like the victim. They're trying to make him sound like a victim, not someone who's at fault. That's why they don't want to go further into the Ukraine stuff, also because some of those things will implicate Joe Biden as well. They don't want to go as far into that because they want the public to see him as a victim. On Thursday, a Delaware grand jury indicted Hunter Biden on 3 related charges, including illegally owning a firearm as a drug user and lying on a form when he allegedly bought the gun. The lying on the form part is what does it for me. You know, it's just like, oh, no, Lana, you're not supposed to let him get away with the crime. But what I'm trying to tell you is the crime that they're charging him with is minimum compared to what he should be charged with. This is just to focus you on the gun charges instead of focusing on the laptop and his business dealings in Ukraine, which is actually even more important. That's the thing. And I want to mention this point right here. Did I go to it? Oh, hold on. See, they even do it like the charges could tee up a fight over the Second Amendment. His lawyers previously told prosecutors that if he faced the charges leveled today, they would argue that the law banning drug users from possessing guns is unconstitutional under the Second Amendment. Well, honey, listen, a lot of people that have been convicted would like to have a word. Okay? Just saying. Chief Justice Roberts' conservative Supreme Court majority has dramatically expanded Second Amendment rights in recent years, which Biden's legal team cited in communications with the Justice Department that Politico reviewed. Numerous other criminal defendants facing similar charges have made the same argument with mixed results. The Supreme Court announced this year that it will hear a case on a similar legal issue, whether or not people under domestic violence restraining orders can be prohibited from possessing guns. And then I want to go to this piece here. I know that there are some right-wing pro-Second Amendment zealots who would say that he shouldn't be charged with these gun crimes because there should be no gun laws at all. But my party certainly disagrees with that. The NRA, meanwhile, released a brief statement on charges. Laws should be applied equally against all criminals. That's from the NRA spokesperson, Billy McLaughlin, said in a response to a request for comment. So we can't allow ourselves to just be distracted because we have to keep in mind what the real game changer is here. And that is the Ukraine business dealings, not the fact that Hunter Biden lied on a form. What's next? We're going to go after Hunter Biden because it turns out he used a fake ID. You know how many people I knew growing up had a fake ID? It's that kind of thing. Get him on the real shit.